everybody, welcome back to the Game of Muscle YouTube channel and welcome back to Assetto Corsa Competizione, where we now have version 0.2.0, the second part of the early access roadmap, and also the last month where you can get it for the cheapest price before the price goes up. So personally I would recommend now's a good time to jump in, though it's far from finished and there's quite a bit to do to it. It's a good time to jump into Assetto Corsa and save some of those pennies because you're probably going to be playing it in the future. AC2, Assetto Corsa Competizione. I'm going to keep calling this AC. It's just too complicated. Let's just call it, I'm going to say ACC. We'll keep that in mind. So now, what's actually been added to the simulator for this update? Well, you can see on the screen, we've got a new car, the Bentley Continental Gt3. We've got a new track, Misano World Circuit in Italy. Unfortunately, you can't leave the track and go and buy pizzas. If we could, I wouldn't be driving, I'd be eating because pizzas in Italy are incredible. And we've also got VR support. If you want to know more about the VR support, first of all, buy an IBM mainframe supercomputer. Then go and check out our VR video start guide that we've uploaded just a minute ago, where you can see how to launch it in VR and what settings we were using whilst we were testing it with the Oculus Rift earlier today. But in this video, we're going to just do a quick race and talk about the car, the track, and the update and what we think of the physics and everything else, and how it's going. So we're going to do a 10-minute race. Let's start at 3 p.m. The Italian summer heat can be baking our bulb patch. That's all good. I'll have a bulb patch suntan. I'm happy with that. We'll reflect the sun back, actually. Destroy the sun. The world's ended. That's actually me on the front of the Death Star, killing all the planets. Don't know where we're going with that, but we went there. Opponent aggression, 80. Opponent skill, 90. It's a little bit too fast for me, but it keeps me on my toes. And you know what? I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to be easy mode. 85, 80. 20 opponents. I'm going to start in ninth place. And another setting that I think is a good one to set is we've got all that enabled. The race start. Where is it? There's an option where you can set. We're going to do it in clear. There's an option where you can set the race start so you don't have to do the full formation. I'm not sure where I put it. Oh, formation lap, there we go. You can have last corner, otherwise you have to do a full drawn-out lap of the track. We don't want to do that, we just want to do the last corner and get driving. So, for those of you wondering about our equipment, I'm using a view of the room, here you go, SW20 direct drive wheel, Proto Simtech PT1 pedal, Simatech K2 cockpit, and we've got the Fanatec shifts and stuff, but of course, this is a flappy car, so we're using a button box here on the sim rig. 2D, 1080p, graphics almost set to max. Let's get driving and let's talk about the handling of the cars and what we think of the update. Bear with me, I'm a little bit tired. It is 2 in the morning. We've 8-hour stream. Let's make a video. Start the race. I'm going to go to the bonnet view. Oh, a nice thing that's changed now with the views is you've got the option to go to the view settings. You can now choose the you could choose the height before, but you can now also choose the pitch and control that a bit better. Don't think you could do pitch in the previous version of the game, so that's nice. Feature. Let's get going. So, the biggest thing of the update, I didn't mention this yet, the biggest part of the update that stands out over version 1.0 is the force feedback's now fixed. The force feedback issues have gone. But in the previous version, there were insane amounts of force feedback delay and dampening. Now you've got a force feedback dampening slider, and you can just turn that. Down, and the dampening goes. And to be honest, actually, even if you leave it on, it doesn't have the force feedback issues that the game previously had in the last version. So the cars are now infinitely more controllable. The force feedback makes sense, especially if you're using the direct drive wheel. That the cars drive like cars from the force feedback. Absolutely incredible. I wouldn't say the force feedback's as good as the force feedback in Assetto Corsa, but because it doesn't quite have the same amount of information that's in Assetto Corsa. not got the same kind of loading feel or subtle loading feel through the corners. The front end feel isn't quite as good as the Assetto Corsa, but you know, it's, in my opinion, the force feedback in this, as it is now, is a lot more informative, for example, than something like iRacing, and it's a lot tighter and more responsive than, say, Project Cars 2 and a lot of the other simulators out there. So I'm really happy with how the force feedback is now. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly drivable. It's not getting in the way of what you're doing as a driver. You know, so massive improvement there, and ACC's actually playable now, whereas the previous version, I would argue it wasn't really playable. It was just bloody irritating. Force feedback's really important to me, so that's the biggest, most important thing of the update in terms of tangible gameplay. That's the nicest thing that's changed. You know what? I'm gonna turn my traction control down a bit. We've got it on 6 here. We can talk a little bit about how this car handles. Let's put it on 4. 4 seems to be the sweet spot with the traction control. Now the traction control actually in ACC seems a lot better than the traction control in Assetto. Like it's a lot more overtake over the sausages. It's a lot more subtle and nuanced in how the traction control kicks in and how it affects the car. I much prefer the traction control and the ABS in ACC. Also, the vibration of the front end on the braking from the ABS, I think, is better in ACC than it is in Assetto Corsa. So that's all really nice, actually. You notice with this the Bentley Gt3 car, specifically, that the handling of it is a lot easier to drive than the Lamborghini. That's a follow-through corner. Why am I braking? I don't know. Cut my foot off. And again, take the brake pedal away from me. The Bentley is a lot more pliable, not pliable. It's just a lot more forgiving. It doesn't get stuck into slides to the same extent that the Lamborghini does. And in fact, actually, the Lamborghini in the newer version of the of ACC is a lot easier to drive. I don't know how much of that's from tweaks to tire model physics or something else, or if it's just because of the force feedback. Generally, the fundamentals seem the same as the previous version, I have to say, but probably mostly the force feedback, to be honest. The Lambo's easier to drive, but this Bentley, even on top of that, again, is even easier, more sort of forgiving, less likely to get locked into slides than the Lambo. And of course, if you start whacking the traction control up to higher levels, then it is really, really hard to lose control of it unless you're coming out of a low-speed corner with a lot of angle and you're going your foot on the accelerator. In that scenario, the back can spin out, but especially with low traction control, high traction control, it's pretty much on rails car. I should have put the AI in a harder setting. I was expecting 85 to be enough of a challenge whilst talking, but maybe it wasn't. Tell you what, I'm going to pull over a bit, let some AI pass me, and then we can go. They still do the AC thing where they're reluctant to pass you at times. Sometimes they make moves on you, but if you just pull over, they get a bit confused. I'm letting them go past, and then we've got someone to drive against. Okay, there we go. So in terms of the actual handling profile, though, of this Bentley, the main thing is it seems, in my mind, to drive. If you remember if you sort of look at the cars in the Assetto Corsa, it's like how you would imagine a BMW GT3 car to handle for the most part, but then handles as if it's just got a lot more mass. It's a lot more reluctant to change direction. It's like a heavy BMW GT3 car in its profile, but at low speed with lower traction control, the backs light up more. It'll be really interesting to see if the BMW, when that comes out in ACC, if that has the aggressive rear end sort of torque delivery. Even when I turned down some of the car setup options to try and reduce the amount of rear wheel spin up from low speed, even then the back was still quite aggressive. You kind of have to, when you put your foot on the throttle, you kind of have to just hold it halfway down and wait until you got to a certain speed. Maybe downforce settings will improve that as well, but at the very low speeds, obviously downforce isn't doing too much. So yeah, all in all, this car's handling like a heavier BMW GT3 car, a lot easier to drive than the Lamborghini GT3 car, the only other car in Assetto Corsa Competizione. But fairly nimble, does what you'd expect of it. I'm imagining, I mean, the GT3 cars aren't exactly the most delightful vehicles to drive in terms of dynamics. They're not 90s DTM cars or 90s BTCC cars. I think I put 3 Cs in there, and they're not. Well, they're just not 90s cars. Let's face it, 90s cars. Oh my god! But I'm. When I first started the first impression stream earlier, well, last night, in my mind, we're still on the same day because we've not slept. But last night when we did the stream, you know, I'm getting a little bit moody over it. But having thought about it a bit more, I think the racing could be really fun in these. I mean, it's GT3, it's going to be nice and close, and I think though the cars aren't the most dynamic, they're not 90s DTM, we hopefully should get some really nice close racing once they actually put the ranked multiplayer stuff in, and I think that will make it exciting, even if the fundamental nature of the cars isn't the most nuanced and subtle. Now, outside of the handling of this car, let's talk a little bit about the... Well, let's not talk. Let's let the car do the talking. And let's just listen to the engine sound. I'll mute my microphone. Don't know about you guys, but having ramped my headphone volume up and having been playing a lot of AC recently in other sims, I have to say it does sound really nice. You especially notice the deeper engine note, a lot of bass in the engine note that's really nice and rounded. The transmission whine, the dirt when you go off-road then, you can hear it picking up off the tyres and little stones and stuff. And you also notice it if you drive offline, you can hear the sort of rubber... I've forgotten the correct word for it, but you know, the little bits of rubber that have come off the wheels hitting the bodywork as well. It's really nice touch, really nice immersive audio. I'm really happy with how this car sounds. It's you know, and when you get on the brakes, you can hear the brakes squealing, the gear shifts. Nice, you know, it's just all there. The audio is actually really quite decent. I highly recommend either using, I mean, ideally it would be good to have a nice hi-fi with a subwoofer, but if you've got like good headphones like the Sennheiser 595s that I'm using, or the 599s I think we're on now, really nice bassy sound, adds a lot to the immersion. The other players could be a little bit louder, I think. Most I can just hear my car, and you tweak the audio settings, so I might need to fiddle with that a bit more. The curbing sounds quite nice as well. So yeah, the audio is really nice. It's really grown on me. When I did my first impressions video, when ACC first came out, I was sort of a little bit critical of the audio. I actually think it's a big improvement over AC, to be honest. The only thing it's not a massive improvement over is race room racing experience, and if you've had the joy of using the Fonseca modifications for the Porsches in Assetto Corsa. The Fonseca sounds are just superb. But you know, this is really good sound in the game, and I think because there's such a limited number of cars in Assetto Corsa Competizione, it's probably allowed them to make them, you know, really work on the sounds on them and get a bit deeper. But yeah, really, I think it's a really nice car. I think it's a nice addition. The quality seems very consistent from this car, from the Lambo. Both, nothing stands out of them being completely wrong, or you know, any particular problems with them. They're perfectly fine. If they're in any other simulator, you'd be really happy with them, to be honest. I do feel, in my mind, I do prefer how Assetto Corsa handles and its force feedback for the most part. ACC is not quite tickling the Assetto Corsa pickle, I have to say, but I think once we combine the ranking and the multiplayer components and it sort of just being a solid product, I think that might sway me a bit. But on the core level, fundamental handling, the force feedback, something just doesn't seem quite right yet. I hope it's an early access thing and it'll just improve over time. But yeah, it's not quite there, but we'll see moving into the future. Other things to add, I mean, you can see the circuit that we're driving around now. I think it looks fantastic. I think from the cockpit view, you don't get to appreciate the details so much. When you watch the replay, we'll let it run through a bit of the replay once we finish this race. From the replay view, it looks way better than the cockpit view. You can appreciate the details more. What you can see from the cockpit though, which is quite nice. Why am I braking there? Stop doing that. There we go. We've got a member of the audience exploding. He's put a paint firework in his pocket and it's gone off. But you can see the animated crowds, the flans. The flans? Yes, lots of flans in the audience. I like a good flan whilst driving my car. Food on the mind. All the fans, all the flags, you know, the smoke and stuff, the environmental stuff looks really nice. The skybox and the clouds look really nice. And then, of course, when you run this at different times of day, that looks absolutely superb as well. And this track's just it's a really nice finish-off track. Really nice and detailed. Sausages. And, you know, we've got grass. Although I have to say the grass in the Assetto Corsa Competizione isn't the most noticeable grass. The grass could be better. I mean, I've been spoiled by Forza Horizon grass. Sheep and grass. Forza Horizon has just set the benchmark there. But, yeah, well, let's look at the replay. And you can see here from the replay view. Well, can we get the replay on? We've got race 2. I don't know if I can get this on the screen here. We just click back. Replay, there we go. Hopefully this works. There we go. So we can admire the graphics here. You can see the temporal AA. I don't know how clear it is in the video. I really don't like this effect that you get off the back of cars. It's like everyone's driving at warp speed. It's like the Starship Enterprise going into Engage. I mean, I'm basically Jean-Luc Picard. Like I'm an overweight sim racing Jean-Luc Picard. So it makes sense. But outside of that temporal AA effect, just look at the detail. You see the grass in the replay views a lot better. All the little environmental stuff. You really notice on the bridge, the texture fidelity is really nice. I'm really looking forward to trying this on a 4K monitor because I think it will look absolutely stunning on a 4K screen. AC looks absolutely stunning. Forza Horizon looks absolutely stunning on 4K. So that'll be really interesting to try and test. I'll probably do a separate video, ACC in 4K, and see what it looks like. Got a bit too much vignette going on this view here. It's like we're in 1930s mode. Let's change camera again. But yeah, really, really nice. It's a nice progression. The AC fanboy in me and the PC fanboy isn't quite as excited. But if I'm to look at Assetto Corsa Competizione in a sort of more generalised sim racing perspective, then I'm more optimistic. So I think it depends on the direction that you're coming into Assetto Corsa Competizione. Main thing is, right now with version 2.0, force feedback's fixed. It's much more fun to drive. It's got VR support as an entry-level VR support. It can only get better. It's still massively in development. Let's try and be optimistic. Let's put some of the train components back together. Put the train back on the rails a little bit, but be cautious. Let's not put too much coal in the train, because then it'll be another hype train disaster. But there you go, guys. Hopefully, that's given you a rounded up summary of Competizione. New car, new track, new features, what I thought of it. As I say, definitely, I would buy it now, personally. I got given a free press coffee. I got given a free press copy, so, you know, I didn't buy it. I was going to buy it. I would have just bought it at launch day. I would buy it now if you haven't, because I think it's only going to get better with the ranking, and it makes sense to get it cheaper. This is the last month before the price starts going up, and it's going to get more and more expensive, so good time to buy it now. But there you go. There you go. Thanks for watching this. I'm now going to get some sleep. No cups of tea. Off to bed is like 2:30 in the morning. Thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for clicking the like button. Leave any questions in the comments. I'll try and answer them as soon as possible. Goodbye. Goodbye. Off we go. Goodbye.